Hey, Rich.
Hey, great to be here.
Thank you for being here. So let's talk about investors. I know you guys have like over 40,000 investors. So how do you be focused as an investor?
Oh man, I think it's being very present on where you are now. I think that gets us distracted. There's so many things in life coming at us from marketing and advertising and emails and all this stuff that getting clear and focused in the moment, I think is a huge practice, and I think that's a big part of it. And the second part, I think it's also like knowing where you want to go and getting really clear on that. And so in our 44,000 members now at Real Wealth Network, we found that the people who seem to be the most successful are the ones that are really clear on their why and what they want from an outcome. So that really helps a lot.
So around that, what is the definition of a focused investor? You know, because we have a lot of investors too, and they seem to be all over the map on what they want. I don't think that a lot of times they don't even know what they want.
That's a huge part, yeah. So, I mean, I love, there's an exercise that I've done for years, probably 30 years now, called Future Focus, where you actually step into the future to meet your future self. So a lot of times when I speak for our group, I'll take everyone down this little mental journey where they go forward in the future 10 years and they meet their future self and they get to find out what are they doing.
It's like a goal seminar.
It's kind of like a goal seminar, yeah.
Good for you.
Learn what you want.
So you take your investors 10 years out and say, what do you want to be financially? But you probably break it down a lot more than that.
I kind of just bring them there. They actually meet their future self. They get to see what their future self looks like, what they walk like, what they move like, what kind of fitness they're in. Even walk into their future self's home and walk around and see what are the photographs on the wall, what kind of person lives here.
Good for
what
you.
They're doing with their family. And that shifts to, there's a part of our brain, the reticular activating system, which is at the base of our brain. And it's that thing that filters out everything around us to be only looking for what's most important. So it's like you can be in a crowded room and everyone's talking and all of a sudden you hear your name. That's your reticular activating system. So getting clear and like meeting your future self and going into the future and seeing that, all of a sudden you plant that into your reticular activating system. So when you're going along and you see an opportunity that matches up with that, you're like, oh, I saw that in the future. You know, that's what I want.
That's nice. You know, especially today, we a lot of times we have people raising money. You know, it's you raise money, I raise money, and we have lots of friends that do it. But very rarely do you find somebody who's trying to like develop the entire person.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Yeah.
How's that working?
I think it looks great. It's amazing with our members, the feedback. We have people that have come back I've done it for the last 13 years. I have people who've come back after 13 years, year after year, and have gone through this thing. Because each year they get a little better, and I think that's the bottom line. It's like, and you've seen it, it's like when we get better, everything around us gets better.
No question. And how do you monitor that? How do you monitor? Do the people weigh in with you?
A lot of times, it's not much a direct one, but they'll come up and talk to me after, or they'll come to that, the next year. It's like, hey, last year I set this intention to do this, and I'd like to break it down on like these 10 major areas of life. So we use like a life balance wheel, and they rate their satisfaction of their life in these different areas. And so it might be health and fitness, scale of 0 to 10, how satisfied are you?
Sure.
Your romance and your relationship, how satisfied are you? Your business, your finances. So I think that's a great way to rate it, where someone can look and say, wow, last year I was a 6 over here, I was a 3 over here, I was an 8 over here. This year I'm a 8, a 7, a 9.
That's nice, like a Colby.
Kind of like a Colby.
Yeah, which is great, right? It kind of gives you, I love that. I love the metrics, right? Because you can go back and look at, right? I mean, you do that, I do that. I know it's a great. So how far in advance should you plan your outcome, do you think?
I think to have a clear vision of where you want to go. I like the 20-year. I like to look out 20 years first and be like, who am I in 20 years? What am I up to? What's most important? And come with those more of the lifetime goals. I'm 55 now, so looking out into the future and going out to 75, he's a different man, really.
Yeah.
He's who I am, but it's like, how has he grown and what has he become? So I like pulling it back for there, go out far, and then say, okay, in 10 years, where do I want to be? In 3 years, where do I want to be? And then where do I want to be at the end of this year that's going to take me there?
I really appreciate you guys listening to my show. And to learn more, I have an entire website dedicated to real estate education at kenmcelroy.com. And the price is just $14.99 a month. And you'll have access to hundreds of videos in the video library. So please visit kenmcelroy.com if you're interested in more education. Start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And then do you for your own personal space, do you go back like 5 years, 10 years, 1 year? How do you manage that? Like, how do you weigh in with yourself?
Great question. I have a coach that I speak to every week.
Okay.
So that really helps me a lot. And then I create what I call a self-coaching form. So each week on Monday morning, I fill out this form. And on one side, it's my rituals. Like, what are those rituals that are most important to me? Like meditation, yoga, eating well, focusing on my 3 most important business goals for the quarter, things like that. So I check in on that once a week. And on the back side of that form, when I flip it over, I have my lifetime goals, I have my 10-year goals, I have my 3-year goals. So I just read it through once a week.
Right.
Keeps it fresh.
All from that coaching career you've had, right? The professional coaching.
15 years.
Good for you.
Business coach and carried a lot of those lessons.
So smart, especially like for the investors that have joined your network. I mean, most people think of just the financial piece, right? It's cool that you guys are, taking it to the next level and helping people at their very core, right?
Yeah, and that's what we've been about from day one. It's like real wealth is not just about making a lot of money. It's like that's important and it's great, but we see real wealth is having both the money but also the freedom to live life on your own terms.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the time to do it, you can make a lot of money, and there's a lot of people, that we work with in Silicon Valley who make a lot of money, but there's no time. So that's not real wealth to us. So a lot of times they come to us and they're like, how can I free up my time? How can I create passive income so I can actually hang out with people like you and do things like
like we've been doing the last few days.
Exactly.
It's interesting. I did a whole piece on hospice, and the 5 regrets when you die, and none of them have money at all.
Really?
They're all relationships and forgiveness and stuff like that. So it's funny, people work their butts off, right? And then they have whatever they have, but they don't have the connectivity or the relationships in their lives.
Yeah, which is huge.
It's everything, I mean, it's interesting, the caregivers in hospice, well, they've just surveyed thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and money's never on the list, ever.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's always, I wish I would have spent less time at work. I wish I would have said I'm sorry to certain individuals, and I wish I would have mended relationships, or I wish I would have been more healthy.
Yeah.
Like better choices around eating or exercise or things like that. So, congrats to you guys for rolling right into that. So, what do you feel people have they need to do to be successful each and every day? Like because sometimes these can be like, especially if there's no personal development.
Yeah.
Like it just can be super overwhelming.
Yes.
And so what can somebody do super simple every single day just to make small changes? Because I remember looking at successful people. Now that I know some of them, none of them were silver spoon people. None of them had a lot of money when they started. It was all these small little, very, very minute changes that they made every single day or every week.
Absolutely, big time. Yeah, it's fascinating. Like we were talking about earlier, it's like I love the way the brain adapts, and we're either getting better or getting worse, right? So I love the way the brain adapts, and when you do something on a regular basis, in the beginning it can be hard. It's like cutting a path through the jungle. In the beginning you got to have the machete, and it's really hard to cut. But you go down the path again, it becomes easier and easier, and that's the way it is with these healthy rituals. Saying I'm sorry, or saying I love you to someone, or taking better care of your health. And what happens is you got like 2 neurons in your brain that make this connection. This neuron fires and it sends a signal to this neuron, and it lays down something called myelin. It's that gray matter in our brain. It's actually the white matter, and it shoots this myelin across, and it makes this connection stronger. So it's really thin in the beginning. It's like a dial-up connection, but the more you do something over and over, the more myelin gets laid down, and it gets thicker and thicker, and it goes from like a dial-up connection to like a broadband connection. So that habit becomes so easy and so ingrained. So doing something in the beginning, say it's like 5 minutes of meditation in the morning. And then at the beginning you start off and it's really hard, your brain's all over the place. And then after a couple of weeks, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm starting to drop into the zone. I'm starting to get this. After a year, then you can just go boom and get right into there. So it's actually the brain changing itself.
That happened to me around meditation. I remember the first time I was like 1 minute, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was telling you about presence. When I went to that ranch in West Texas, we started off at 1 minute, and then 5 minutes, and then 20 minutes, and then an hour, and then 2 hours. And, to try to just be present, it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But you're right. Like, after you do an hour, 1 minute or 5 minutes seems super easy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But powering through that, I remember specifically around meditation, it's really hard. It was really hard for me. It was my mind was all over the place.
Totally. So, and like being an entrepreneur in the beginning, this can be really challenging. You know, the fears and the challenges and the sales skills and everything. And just think over time, it's who you are. It becomes who you are because you practice it so much.
Yeah. So just start with one small thing, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
You know,
one commitment, one like success habit, if you will, and say this is the one thing. And that's why I love looking forward into the future, saying like, here's where I want to be in 20 years or in 10 years. So coming back, what can I do on a daily basis? And I think in the morning is the best time to do it. Because
I completely agree.
you don't miss it. Yeah.
Yeah, that book, Miracle Morning. Have you read that
Great,
book?
yeah.
Great book. Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, if anybody could pick that book up and just take some of those principles in there, they're super simple, right?
Yeah.
And you're fresh, and get out and just go for a walk. Just start with a walk, right?
Yeah.
If you're not exercising or whatever it might be, right?
And maybe getting to bed a little bit earlier so you can get up a little bit earlier and have that hour in the morning.
Super easy. Well, congratulations on what you guys are doing for the Real Wealth Network. I mean, your investors are very lucky to have you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have
awesome
them.
job, buddy.
It's been great.
Yeah.
Good
Thank
run.
you, bud.